Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Just closing some doors and windows. Just give me 1 moment. Just pulling up the chat on a different screen. Okay, hello. And welcome to another session. Let's see how this turns out. Today we're going to be making an Achari curry. Achari means pickle, and in British Indian restaurants it's just that. It's a fairly straightforward curry in restaurants with usually just pickle, some form of pickle, often a brand like patax added for that tangy flavour. My version is more sophisticated than that. It's a little bit more complicated than the typical restaurant curry, but you'll see very shortly. I'll show you the ingredients. We'll see how we get on. The recipe for this Achari curry is in volume 2 of my book, Indian Restaurant Curry at Home. Again, I can't really show you properly, but you can get it on Amazon and various other book sites, including my own. But don't bother going to mine because you have to pay postage. You're better off going to Amazon or eBay. Right. Move that out of the way. That's the book. Indian Restaurant Curry at Home, Volume 2. Okay, the ingredients. How are we all, by the way? And welcome to everyone who's joined in so far. Hi Greg. Hi Anne. Hi Anne with an E. Hi Gareth. Anna. Simon. So many. Heather. Okay, how's the sound and video? Are you okay? Everything clear, is it? Cool. Saturday is the new Sunday, indeed. Indeed, Gary. Right, let's get started then. So what we've got, all ingredients in, all the right ingredients, but not necessarily in the right order. We've got oil. You could use a bit of ghee in there as well. We could use 100% ghee, but oil is fine for this. Now, the whole spices we put in at the beginning are kind of slightly different to what you'd normally get, like brown cumin seeds and cassia bark and so forth. These are actually spices which work very well in pickle type dishes. We've got some black cumin. Let me just, I actually have to refer to my book here because I've forgotten exactly what the measurements are, even though I measured them out about an hour ago. Right, so there's about a teaspoon of black mustard seeds. We've got a 1/4 teaspoon of Fenugreek Seeds, 1/2 teaspoon of black cumin seeds. Now, black cumin seeds aren't the usual brown ones. The black ones have got like kind of earthy, kind of slightly odd flavour, but it works well in this particular dish. And we've got about 1/2 teaspoon of Kalonji seeds, also known as Nigella seeds, or occasionally onion seeds. And that's just mixed up there. Those will go in the oil once we've started cooking. We've got about half a medium large onion. That's about 75 to 100 grams of onion sliced into semicircles, just to make it a little bit different from the usual finely chopped, and a bit of a gives extra character to the curry. Just any little thing you can do to make the curry just that little bit different from others really helps. How many views? We've got 87 people. That's not so bad to start with. Ginger garlic paste, about 1.5 teaspoons, roughly, something like that. We've got a teaspoon of Kasuri Methi, which has been scrunched up. That's dried fenugreek leaves. And then we've got the powdered spices here. We've got about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I usually use a bit more in curries, but because we're going to add some Indian pickle later, that is quite salty, so it's just sort of moderating it a little bit. We've got some Kashmiri Chilli Powder. That's about 2 teaspoons. You can put as much as you like in. That's Kashmiri Chilli Powder, but you could use regular chili powder instead, just half the amount. So it's completely up to you how much you add. I like it a little bit spicier, this one. And we've got some mixed powder, so 1.5 teaspoons of mixed powder. The mixed powder, most of you will know this already, but it's basically a blend of common spices which form sort of foundation layer flavours in all restaurant style curries. It's used for convenience in the restaurants and takeaways. It's mixed together in advance, and it just means they don't have so many sort of different spice pots to dip into when they're cooking curry very quickly. The recipe for mixed powder, in fact, 2 versions of mixed powder. The first one is in my volume 1 book, and the volume 2 book has both the original and the new bizarre curry powder. I won't go into that now. Okay, everything okay so far? Who's cooking along then? So, as usual in most curries, we have some tomato paste, or in fact, what I call tomato paste is, in this case, tomato puree, diluted with about 3 times its volume in water. So, realistically, that's about a tablespoon and a half of tomato puree, stuff you get from the jar or the tube, mixed with the water. You could use passata instead, or you could use blended plum tomatoes. The latter two don't need diluting. We've got some coriander stalks. Those will go in fairly early on during the curry because they're quite tough, and they do need some softening up, and it'll add a lovely flavour. Right, next we have the pickle. I'm using, well, you could use any pickle you like, Indian pickle, preferably. Don't use Branston pickle, for God's sake. This is a mango pickle from a brand called Ashoka. I'll show you the jar briefly. A quick flash there. Other brands are available and other types are available. You can get garlic, you can get brinjal, you can get pretty much anything that's a vegetable can be pickled. There's a huge variety of them in Asian shops. But if you just want to use standard Patak's mixed pickle, or even Patak's brinjal pickle, that's aubergine pickle, that's very nice. But do make sure it's quite tart in flavour, because you do want quite a nice tang to this curry. Okay, yeah, chili pickle, Nigel. Yes, chili pickle's fine as well. You could use Mr. Naga, but or another Naga pickle, but they don't tend to be very tart, you know. You could add Mr. Naga as well. So anyway, you find a lot of these pickles come in quite big chunks. So what I've done is chop the chunks up. That's about a tablespoon and a half, maybe 2 tablespoons. We'll see how we go with that. We can always add some of it and then adjust at the end, see how we're doing. Right, moving on. We've got some tomato segments just for a bit of body and make the curry a bit of character. And we've got some pre-cooked potato chunks. These have been simmered for 15 minutes with some turmeric and salt. Make sure you use the waxy potatoes, not the floury ones, because when you add floury potatoes to curries, they kind of break up and the starch makes the sauce go sort of claggy and horrible. So I used standard baking potato for that. It's perfect. Now, just for a little bit of extra character, it's not in the recipe book, but you can add any sort of veg or main ingredient you want. In this curry, as well as the beef, which I'm going to show you shortly, I've just got some green beans, which I've blanched, 90% cooked. Blanched them in a bit of turmeric and salted water. And here we have the pre-cooked beef. I've cooked this according to the recipes in both my books for pre-cooked lamb. You can use the recipe interchangeably between any type of red meat. It takes a while to cook, but it's absolutely beautiful. I couldn't stop munching on some of this earlier on. That's in both volume 1 and volume 2 of my book, Indian Restaurant Curry at Home. That's about 200, just under 200. It's a generous portion of beef there. Okay, just a quick look at the comments, see how we're doing. How are we all? And welcome to anyone else who's come along. How many people have we got watching? Not that many. 97. Okay. Moving on. Yogurt. We've got about 2 or 3 tablespoons of natural yogurt, which will go in near the end. And finally, just some fresh coriander to garnish and finish off with. And without further ado, let's move on. Good. Whoops. Right, I think that'll do. You see that okay? I'm using sort of medium gas this time, the middle burner. My gas ring, doing it a bit slower than I usually cook, so I can explain better. We have to heat that up on sort of low to medium heat. There's no desperate rush here. Hello, Mike Stewart from Scotland. Going to let that heat up for just 30 seconds longer. So who's cooking along then? If you can, if you're under a screen, let me know if you're cooking along. Okay, in with the oil. That's about 3 to 4 tablespoons of oil. The pickle we add later will have some oil in it. There may well be oil floating on the curry at the end, and we can easily get rid of that by scooping some off if you wish. How can you tell when that pan is hot enough? Well, really, you could put your hand over it like that. Just actually, we've got a delay here. How many seconds? About a 5-second delay. Okay. Can we use a wok? Yes, if you want. Aluminium pans like this, the ones that aren't non-stick, are ideal for cooking this style of curry. The reason being, I've said this many times before, but there are many people watching. The reason being is that it has very good heat transference, even across the pan, much better than stainless steel. Secondly, there's better heat control. You can turn the gas up, the heat up or down, and it will cool down or heat up quicker than other pans such as cast iron or stainless steel. Well, it depends how big the pan is, how heavy the base is of the pan. What oil did I use, Digger? I used just sunflower oil for this one. Okay. Frostbite, just microwaving potato, forgot about them. Oh, that's all right. We won't go too quickly. So I think that's going to be well hot enough. We're going to add the mixture of whole spices. Now, the black mustard seeds will pop. I'm going to put the lights on, it's a bit dark in here. That's a bit better. So I want to get the mustard seeds popping in this mixture. You might want to put them actually first in, separate from the rest, but it's okay like this. Now, I've got the heat on as high as it can be on this particular gas ring until we hear the mustard seeds pop, crackling and popping, or snap, crackle and popping like Latif Abdul from Latif's Inspired would say. Okay, snap, crackle and pop is happening. Hear that? And the mustard seeds are actually literally going to start jumping around. So what I'm going to do, somebody's asked a question about the lowest and highest flames on your cooker. All right, well you can see that's, so over here on your bottom right, that's my highest one. I think that's a 4 kilowatt sort of equivalent of a wok ring, if you like. And that's pretty powerful. I don't want to cook on that. I normally do, but I'm not going to because it will be too quick and things might burn and it won't be very interesting. Right, got that? So this is the medium. This is the medium one I'm using. So it's not particularly fierce, but it's suitable for what we're doing now. All right. Right. Heat back up. Now I'm going to add the onion. We just want to soften it, slightly brown it. We don't want to caramelise these onions. Okay, while those are slightly browning, or caramelising, not caramelising, softening. While that's happening, go on, let's have a look at the chat. What are we doing? Hello, Steve from Devon. Hello, Stuart. Stuart Barnes. What's your site called? Stu's Foodie Site group on Facebook. Some brilliant all-round recipes on there. Fantastic looking food. That's Stu's Foodie Site, is it called, Stu? Can you smell the onions? I can smell them. They smell lovely. Is there much difference between black mustard seed and brown mustard seed? Good question. I believe they are slightly different. I must admit I'm not sure exactly. It's shameful, but perhaps I should know. The restaurants and takeaways don't really tend to use very exotic spices. You know, the mainstream ones. I've never come across a sort of anything that's been listed on the menu as having, you know, some special spices. Occasionally one crops up, but never frequently. So while that is nicely softening and very slightly browning, okay. Hello, Robbo from Waxon, North Carolina. I was on no, I wasn't. I was on a radio show in Florida, of all places, but I was, of all things, there was a magazine in the Carolina area that featured my books, or one of my books, in the as a Christmas catalogue for some bizarre reason. Anyway, moving on. Welcome to you anyway. Hello, Chef Gary. Got a chef here. Oh, someone who knows what they're doing. Yeah, there's quite a lot of prep and quite a lot of washing up as well. I'm going to turn the heat down for a second. Okay, right, we've got them nicely browned, or nicely softened and slightly browned. In with the ginger garlic paste. I've said before in previous videos I use a mixture that's more in the flavour of garlic and ginger, probably 60-40 or 66-33 or 75-25, something like that. You never seem to overdo garlic, it doesn't really spoil the dish, in my opinion. But you can overdo the ginger and it can be bitter or overpowering. Andrew Ferguson, just bought your first book. Can you say hello to my wife Wendy? Hello Wendy, who is listening in Livingston. Oh, I know, yeah. At the moment in Scotland, she's ironing and I'm cooking. Yeah, sounds like, oh, let's not go there. Oh, thank you. Good, Sue Baker cooking from Wednesbury, West Midlands. Welcome. And welcome to you all new people who've come and joined. So we've just put the ginger garlic paste in. It's been 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I've got the gas on low so I can talk and concentrate at the same time. Hello Ash Schreiber, happy Saturday to you too. Rick says black mustard seeds are slightly bigger and stronger than brown. Oh, there you go, I didn't know that. Thank you. Right. I think that's enough frying of the ginger garlic. We'll add the powdered spices. As I said earlier, it's mixed powder, Kashmiri Chilli Powder and salt. You could use regular chili powder if you wanted, as much or a little as you like. And I'm going to heat the base gravy up. Forgot to put the gas on. It should be warm enough anyway. So you need to fry the spices, get the flavour out, and turn the heat up a little bit. Cook them for long enough so the sort of aromas are released and the essential oils within the spice powders are kind of released and make it taste good. Right, that's coming on nicely. You don't want to let the spices burn, but you don't want to undercook them either. I usually say about 20 or 30 seconds on a medium heat. And what I normally do is add just a little bit of the base gravy. I should have mentioned this before, base gravy is quite essential to restaurant style curries. It's onion-based stock. You all know this, I'm sure. Maybe there are a few people who are new here. If you are, then please let yourself be known. The recipes for base gravy is I've got two base gravies. The first one's in my first book, Indian Restaurant Curry at Home, Volume 1, and the second book, Volume 2, has got this one and a new alternative version, which isn't meant to compete with it, it's just a different version. Right, we've put enough in there, enough time. Tomato paste goes in, which is tomato puree diluted with water, about, as I said before, about a tablespoon and a half. I want to cook this out nicely, keeping the heat on a sort of medium. Dudes, say hi to Sarah. I'm cooking this for Sarah for our date night under quarantine. Hello, Sarah. Hi, Steve Harkin from Newark, Nottingham, with the obvious exception of your own two books. Do you have any go-to books to reference as far as curries go? Interesting. No, funnily enough. At the time, Pat Chapman's and Chris Dillon's books were around. For some reason, I never caught wind of them. You know, it's not like way back. You know, we didn't have the internet, and it was just something that sort of passed me by. I purchased several cookery books, but to be honest, a lot of the time I like to experiment, and obviously you need to learn from somewhere. But I hope that answers your question. Hello, Pete Milady. We're cooking along with you in Darwin, Lancashire. Right, so you see the tomato paste has reduced slightly. We've got a bit of oil separation, and it's all looking quite good. It's smelling very nice indeed. We're going to add the coriander stalks next. There you go, about a tablespoon or so. I've got the heat on low so I can talk and concentrate. I would have it on higher normally, and in fact it would take a lot less time to cook the dish. It'll probably take another 10, 15, 20 minutes even to do this. Right, that's mixed in. How much of the mixed powder? I used about a teaspoon and a half. Shin Yiti, ordered volume 1. Yep, thank you. Yeah, if somebody asked, sorry if I missed any questions about scaling up, but in volume 2, from which this recipe, this Achari curry recipe is from, I've got a very detailed chapter on how to scale up a BIR restaurant style curry for 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 16 people, and there's a lot of useful information about that and how to do it and how to get a good taste. I did some catering over the last few years, and had to sort of cook big pots of curry. I opted to do the BIR style for the flavour, but I had to adapt and find a way to cook the curry in bulk, and it doesn't work just by multiplying the ingredients. There's a bit more to it than that, but thanks for pointing that out, Greg. Yes, we've got coriander, Stuart, and it's cheap. It's 29p for a little packet from, where is it, Lidl. So I bought 2, pushing the base out. Do I eat the curries you just made in these demos? Well, to be honest, I'll tell you, that the one we made last week, what was it, a dansak, wasn't it? Let me turn the heat off for a sec. That dansak was really, really good, but because I've been preparing and cooking and talking, and I've already sort of experienced the curry. You know, I've got all my senses are overloaded with it, and I know that I'll enjoy it better if I have it another time. So I usually put it in the freezer, to be honest. Often the case that when you have a curry and your taste buds are clear, it's much more enjoyable. How long have I been into BI style? About 8, 9 years. Been cooking a lot longer than that though, generally. Where does the name Misty come from? I'd have to kill you if I told you. I do a taste at the end, you can find out, yes. And I do enjoy it. Right. Stop stirring. It's all falling apart. The Bindi of Aspel, yeah, Philip Snape says, the Bindi of Aspel, which is a restaurant not far from me. Your daughter lives near there, so when everything's back to normal, we'll go. I've eaten there many times, good. In fact, there's a chapter in volume 2 about Bindi of Aspel. They let me in the kitchens and do some filming and photos and whatnot. So if you want to know more about Bindi of Aspel, you can look there. Clint Eastwood movie? No, it's not. It's not nearly as dangerous as one of those. Raw chicken, sorry, my bad. Andy Pickles, add it now. We should have been adding it a bit earlier. I'm not using chicken, I'm using pre-cooked beef. So I'm not putting it in until a little bit later. But if you've got raw chicken, then put it in now. Don't put prawns in. Yeah, prawns go in just before the end. Or vegetables, depends Depends on what you've got, whether you pre-cook them. But if it's something that's going to take a bit of time to cook, I don't know, if you've got some green beans that are raw or some courgettes or something like that, put them in now. Or carrots. But if you do carrots, make sure they're very finely chopped because they take ages to cook. Ah, yes, bud. And it's not too late to kill you again. Right. Now it's time for some base gravy properly. I'm going to put about 75 millilitres of base in. I'm going to turn the heat up, pump up the base. And what you want to happen, as a lot of you know, most of you know, or a few people perhaps are new to this, the key to cooking the base gravy is to let it sit, cook on a relatively high heat, so it caramelizes on the bottom and the sides of the pan, and that will bring out really nice flavours. Because I turn the heat right up, it's not going to take long just for that first ladle to reduce down. As you can see, we've got oil separation happening. Those little craters you see, it's all good signs. And if I were to sort of scrape back slightly, you start to see a little bit of adhesion to the pan. So that's the first one in. And they're all separating nicely. You see we've got a nice caramelisation going on. We're going to add about another 75 millilitres approximately. Give that a stir. Do you know what? We've got the fenugreek dried leaves, the Kasuri Methi. I'm going to put them in now. It's not going to make a big difference. Normally put them in with the powdered spices. Ultima, yes, the section on scaling up is in the second book, volume 2 of Indian Restaurant Curry at Home. You see we've got this nice cratering again, for oil separation. I'm trying to get sort of as much flavour into the pan as we can. So the heat's on as high as I can get it on this burner, and that's just about right. So all the spices will be properly cooked now. And you can see it's beginning to stick. So now we're going to add more base gravy this time, 150 millilitres. Stir. Right, in with the pre-cooked beef or lamb, if you're using it. If you're using pre-cooked chicken, put it in now as well. So we haven't got that many people watching today, it's 127. Not as many as last time. Oh, thanks Andy, you like the dance act you cooked last week. Will Ellis, I mentioned it before about aluminium frying pans. Things stick better to them, better caramelisation, more even heat distribution, better heat control. Yeah, should mention, I know it sounds like a marketing ploy this, but you can get either of my 2 books from Amazon in Kindle formats. I think they're about $4.99 each. So if you haven't got the money for the paperbacks, then that could be a good option. And you can read the ebooks on any device or tablet or PC or phone. So this is coming along nicely. It's wanting to stick. I will let it stick a little bit. And then turn the heat down a touch. Oh, thanks Ultima, you just ordered it. Cheers. Yeah, Sunday evenings, yeah, maybe better doing it on Sunday. Saturday, perhaps people are more busy with other things. Roy Dickens, no, the mixed powder is not garam masala, although it might have a tiny bit of it in. It's a mixture of common spices like cumin, coriander, turmeric, paprika, and a mild curry powder. It's your foundation level flavours for restaurant style curries. Right, that's happily bubbling away. I think it's time to add the pickle. There we go. And chopped up. I'm using a mango pickle. It's quite a tart one, this. I'm going to add most of that, or 2/3 of it. Which is about a tablespoon and a half, roughly. Just going to heat up a little bit. They're all in the garden getting drunk this week. Yeah, probably. Thank you, Nigel. Yes, I did all the photography myself. In fact, on this very spot you're looking at, most of them anyway. You use tamarind paste, do you, in the Achari? I don't see why not. You've got that sour flavour coming from that, which is like the vinegar in a pickle. Now, I've had quite a bit of water evaporate from the curry as it's been cooking for longer than it normally does. I'm going to just add a little touch of base gravy extra. Finally, in with the green beans. You don't have to use these because you've got what you like. I just fancied it. Add the potatoes, pre-cooked potatoes, which are yellow because of the water I boiled them in had turmeric in, and a few segments of tomato. Also, the yoghurt. 2 to 3 tablespoons of natural yoghurt. Turn the heat down to mix that in, we don't want it to split. It won't on this heat level anyway. Oh Stuart, don't talk about coriander and carrot soup please. That's a whole big topic on itself. Heat back up. Splash more. I'm going to sweat the heat up and let that cook down for another minute or two. Not full this time. Get a bit of caramelisation going on. Right, how are we all doing? Right, bit of coriander. We'll save some to garnish. I'm just waiting for the tomatoes to soften up a little bit. Beverage of choice. Do you know what? I've got. Where's it gone? Hang on. Beverage choice today is a cup of coffee. I did have a beer earlier on and I thought, shall I have another one? I thought, no, because I won't be able to speak properly. Not enough. You see what's happening here? Quite nice and stick to the bottom. And I think that's done. I'm going to plate up. Right, wait for this. See that? Scraping all the bits off. What a lovely flavour. Right. Thank you, Heather. Right, it's been a bit quiet today. I mean, we've only got 113 watching. Do you know, this time last week we had over 1,000. It's very strange. So here we have a beef and green bean Achari curry. Let's give this beef a go. Yeah. Yeah, it's got a lovely tang. It's very different from your usual booners or jalfrezes. The flavour profile is very different indeed because of those whole spices we put in at the beginning. It's tangy with the pickle, just about right. I don't think that needs any more pickle. It's a tablespoon and a half. Different pickles will be different levels of salt, of course, and spice, strong strength. So let's have a bit of potato here and green bean. I should have cut these up, shouldn't I? I have to get that in my mouth now. Oh. That's good. You know, I think the texture of the beans works well. And the potato is kind of neutral in flavour, so it kind of soaks up some of the Achari taste. So you get a bit of a respite from the pickle for a moment, and then it's back in with the beef. Let's try it a bit more. Again, it's not particularly attractive looking curry. Well, it tastes amazing. If I do say it myself, sorry. So who's been cooking along then? Have you finished? Yeah, Nigel, the green beans are completely something I just threw in. Not essential. God, I'm gonna have some more of this. Do you know, I said earlier that I often don't eat the curry that I've cooked for the meal afterwards because my head's full of all the spice already. I think I might make an exception with this one. Lovely. It's like waiting for the Queen's speech, Tommy. Oh, I'm not sure. Is that a compliment? Yeah, it's just very, very strange. It went bananas last week. If you were here, the number of people watching by the end of the video was over 1,000. But something strange is going on. Just a bit more. So, are any of you going to make this then, if you haven't already? Fantastic. Has anyone got any questions before we wrap up? Sour, it depends what type of pickle you're going to be using, of course, but this is probably slightly more sour than a patia. It's not got the same level of sweetness, which you don't want. The sourness is the star of this show. Yeah, I think that's it. If they see, hi Chris, by the way, nice to see you. I haven't seen you for ages. Chris Shedjoy, sorry, pronounced that wrong. Yeah, I can't post you some, unfortunately, Simon. When you reheat them next day, what's the preferred way? Microwave, pan or oven? I prefer microwave, personally. It depends how much you're heating up. If you're only cooking 1 or 2 portions heating up, then you do in the microwave, it's fine, and keep them covered. It sort of stops the curry drying out. If you put it in the oven, you can heat it up, but try and put foil over it or something. Otherwise it goes dry and a bit scum. Well, not, what's the word? It sort of has a film that forms on top. It's not particularly attractive. Microwave for me. Or if I'm doing a big banquet or something, then I'll use the oven. Nigel, if you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. Well, I will definitely be eating it then, because I want some pudding. Great, okay. I think we've come to the natural conclusion. What I'll do is I'll leave the video running for 10 minutes or so, 10-15 minutes, and if anyone else has got any questions or wants to chat, not verbally, I'll go in the other room and do it on the computer. So you'll be able to see my replies in the text. Okay, well thanks for coming everyone, and for now I'll just put the credits up. Actually, I've got some credits. Next time I'll put a test card up to begin with. Okay, this is going to backfire probably. It's a bit of silliness. Shares, you got an acting credit, yes. Yes, I thought so. Python-esque is the word. But what for now, while the video is still running, I will leave you with some marketing materials just in case anyone decides to pop in, and I'll be online for another 15-20 minutes. So thanks for watching, and see you again soon. Right, thanks everyone.